Hello, cryptocurrency investors. This is a very special report. This report is titled Understanding Why XRP, a product of Ripple, is not a security but a special asset class. Hello, my name is Reggie Mabry. Before I begin, I have to issue a disclaimer. Cryptocurrency investing is a high-risk investment. The content of this program is based on my beliefs and not meant to influence you directly to buy, sell any position in any cryptocurrency that I mention. The purpose of this video is to simply inform you of my guesses about partnerships. Please do your own research before making a decision in cryptocurrency. I'm not a professional advisor nor attempted to advise. I'm not affiliated with the companies that I mentioned. I'm a private investor who is in fact investing in Ripple. I also may change my position on my thoughts at any time. Please keep this in mind while informing yourselves. Investing in cryptocurrency is a high risk, so you should not invest into any offerings unless you are prepared to lose the entire investment. All logos, pictures, articles, graphics belong to their respective owners, and I'm only using them for educational purposes. Most of us are familiar with this famous picture. This is a picture from Star Trek. Here, Chief Science Officer Spock and Chief Engineer Scotty of the Enterprise of Star Trek are setting dilithium crystals in a warp drive. So here you have the Ripple team putting XRP into the Ripple X-Rapid chamber. XRP is a dilithium crystal for warp drive payments. In the Star Trek fictional universe, dilithium is an invented material which serves as a controlling agent in the faster-than-light warp drive. In the original series, dilithium crystals were rare and could not be replicated, making the search for them a recurring plot element in the Star Trek series. So, Star Trek fleet at some point finds that they can manufacture dilithium for its warp drive propulsion speed. Also, the fictional dilithium crystals seem to have a small decay rate like XRP when in use. The use of dilithium becomes a special asset for Starfleet ships in the fictional universe of Star Trek. Now, I hope this gives you a beginning picture of what we're going to talk about. XRP is an invented product material that is the controlling agent in faster than light warp drive payments. But there's an article that I want to respond to, or some comments of a post that I want to respond to. So my fellow investor Shah Money, he sent me this post to check out. And here you see this poster, Pyramids Aren't Power Plants, says, if this is true, then you all own Ripple stock and the company is guilty of illegally selling to you. Pyramids Aren't Power Plants said again, the banks that are using Ripple tech, not the actual currency. They packaged it and sold it to a few banks as a settlement layer. They aren't using your coins. They aren't using anyone's coins but their own. You merely invest in Ripple as a stock. Now, there are a lot of posters out there that seem to connect XRP as Ripple stock incorrectly. So I'm responding in general to what people think, and even a lot of the better posters make some mistakes that I think needs to be cleared up to help XRP do its thing as far as settlement. So XRP is not a stock or a security. From all communications of the company Ripple XRP is a special technology that allows a special payment network to operate very efficiently. XRP can exist without the company Ripple. That's the most important thing. This XRP can exist without the company Ripple. It's like a dilithium crystal. It exists. Doesn't matter if Starfleet or any other fictional entity in the Star Trek universe uses it, it can exist without those entities. As in Star Trek, you could consider Ripple, among other things, a fuel. Without this fuel, the special payment network does not operate in warp drive. To understand Ripple's version of their warp drive for payment using XRP, you can see ripple.com/solutions. Ripple's definition of XRP is a token. Rather, I am using the Star Trek dilithium crystal as something very similar. So Ripple's definition of XRP is a settlement token. Ripple is a company. XRP is not a stock or security, but Ripple, the makers of the technology, is a company. I hope you get this. Ripple, the company that made XRP. XRP is not a stock or security, right? Something different. Ripple, the company, grows the use cases for its products XRP and also grows the technology around it and other products. Ripple is a privately funded company, and then it says products, Ripple Payment and Exchange Network. Those are its products, right? And it made XRP, and XRP is a token. I hope that is simple. At this time, as one examines the laws of Securities and Exchange Commission, they have not yet deemed utility tokens as securities, so purchasing the token is not a security. For help in understanding tokens in relationship to securities, I use the following video to help, but I tailored their points to XRP. I use a discussion between Tai Zhen and Leon Fu in their show Crypto Investing, number 262. Is a cryptocurrency token a stock or security? So you should go and watch that show. I used some of their points and tailored it to my conversation today. Some of the points they raised in talking about tokens are the following. Again, I'm tailoring it to XRP. Think of XRP as buying art cards or baseball cards. There may be a market for it, but you're not buying as owners of the company. Though things are probably manufactured or acquired by companies, meaning that art and baseball cards can be acquired by a trading company. These things are separate. And then when you buy them, you're not buying ownership in the company. You're either buying products that companies own, products manufactured. They are separate. XRP is not a stock. A stock is ownership of a company or business, a partial ownership of a company or business. Terms associated with this are also commonly called shares or equity. Shares, stocks, or equity are issued by companies that you are familiar with, such as Microsoft, General Motors, Apple, Amazon, etc., as partial ownership to that company. Equity represents the profits of a company after expenses are paid. A share is a piece of that equity. Expenses can be the vendors, employees, and cost of doing business. The XRP token has nothing to do with the expenses, vendors, employees, cost of doing business. The XRP token is not tied to the Ripple company doing business, except for that the Ripple company uses or creates other products, other intellectual property, other ideas on the XRP that was created. However, since the company manufactures XRP, it can use the tokens for its purposes, like trading or giving away baseball cards. I mean, there is no revenues, profit, margins, earnings, growth of the token XRP. The XRP token can, however, go up or down in price. Investors who buy, people who could be investors, that might be one of the groups that might that may buy the XRP token, they might buy the tokens based on speculation that these tokens may increase in value. Similar again to investors who purchase baseball cards, coins, cars, etc. Right? So other companies can buy XRP for its usage, right? Not to collect it, but they need it to do something. Ripple XRP should and is an alternative or special asset class, different than a stock or a security. Now, it looks like a duck, but it's not a duck. I was born not far from Chesapeake River myself. I used the following blog. Not all birds that sit on the water and die for food are actually waterfowl, ducks, geese, and swans. There are a number of seabirds that kind of look like ducks because they are somewhat similar in size, float around on the bay, and sometimes hang around with real ducks, especially diving ducks like canvasbacks and scarp. Because these seabirds dive for their food from a floating position, XRP is not a duck. I mean, a duck is a stock, security, or equity in this case. Investors are buying a product, a technology that they feel will be scarce and hold some value in the future. That is, in fact, what they're buying, right? A product or technology that will be scarce, and they feel that it will hold some value in the future. So what is traded like a stock but not a stock? Well, the stock market is where shares are traded. Investors set the price of the shares based on supply and demand. Investors have expectations of the value of the equity. The market ultimately decides the value. Well, just because similar technology tools are used to sell, for example, cryptocurrencies, that doesn't mean that they are in fact stocks. Gold and silver are also found on these tools. Are gold, silver, and other precious metal stocks, are they stocks? Absolutely not. Rare pieces of art, even coins, are traded on software tools. Are they stock? Absolutely not. Gold, silver, and other precious metals are a stored value, an alternative asset class. Ripple or commodity. Ripple XRP can be a stored value for it's a special technology that has a utility. So XRP can be, it could ultimately store some value. I might be wrong, but I see XRP as a high-tech digital safe that is warped through the internet and payment networks, that delivers and opens up based on settlement, and is accepted based on the value of the device display controls. So I see it as, if they see this safe flying around in the internet and it says it has this price and it goes from one exchange to an exchange, the safe itself is accepted to have in it the contents, or controls the contents that is inside. That content could be fiat currency, and so nothing here is physical. It's all in the computer networks. But once this safe or token is moved around the internet, and on its display, whatever it says that it can settle with is accepted. And so you can't send money through a digital world, but you can send this special token, this special product called XRP, and that is not a stock. So when companies get in trouble, companies do make mistakes in this new world. Ripple evolved from Ripple Labs Ripple Labs cured its mistake. From Wikipedia, FinCEN finds Ripple for Bank Secrecy Act violations. On May 5th, 2015, FinCEN fined Ripple Labs and XRP to $700,000 for violation of the Bank Secrecy Act. Okay, so Ripple, that is why Ripple currently is the way that it is. The communication by Brad Garlinghouse is exceptional, very precise, very clean, very tight, and from all the Ripple team about what Ripple is and what XRP is. It is very clean, precise. You don't see that in the crypto world. You don't see very clean, precise language, and that just comes with maturity. So continuing, when companies get in trouble, the Securities and Exchange Commission and our local governments have taken action on several entities in the cryptocurrency market and have deemed them as securities and were a violation of laws governing securities. The most important thing is for everyone who is thinking about or interested in the cryptocurrency world is to read what the Securities and Exchange Commission says. So you can look this up. This is a statement on cryptocurrencies and initial coin offerings by the SEC Chairman Jay Clayton, December 11th, 2017. So this is very, very recently. So then they go additional discussion of cryptocurrencies, ICOs, and security regulations. Cryptocurrencies, speaking broadly, cryptocurrencies are purport to be items of inherent value, similar, for instance, to cash or gold. They are designed to enable purchase and sale of other financial transactions. They are intended to provide many of the same functions as long-established currencies such as U.S. dollar, euro, or Japanese yen, but do not have the backing of a government or other bodies. Although the design and maintenance of cryptocurrencies, different proponents of cryptocurrencies highlight various potential benefits and features of them, including the ability to make transfer without an intermediary or without geographic limitations, finality of settlement, lower transaction costs compared to other forms of payment, and the ability to publicly verify transactions. Other often touted features of cryptocurrencies include personal anonymity and the absence of government regulations or oversight. Critics of cryptocurrencies note that these features may facilitate illicit trading and financial transactions, and that some of these purported beneficial features may not prove to be available in practice. It has been asserted that the cryptocurrencies are not securities. Let me say this again. It has been asserted that cryptocurrencies are not securities and that they offer and sale of cryptocurrencies are beyond SEC's jurisdiction. Whether that assertion proves correct with respect to any digital asset that is labeled as cryptocurrency will depend on the characteristics and the use of the particular asset. In any event, it is clear that just as the SEC is sharp focused on how the U.S. dollar, euro, or Japanese yen transactions affect our securities market, we have the same interests and responsibilities with respect to cryptocurrencies. This extends for example, to security firms and other market participants that allow payments to be made in cryptocurrency, set up structures to invest or hold cryptocurrencies, or extend credit to customers to purchase or hold cryptocurrency. So it is very obvious that the world-class team of Ripple, led now by the CEO Brad Garlinghouse, is completely mindful of the Securities and Exchange guidelines and continually to message what XRP is and what Ripple Labs, what Ripple the company is. And they are two separate entities. So I'm going to not read this, but also in that report is messaging about initial coin offerings. I'm not really dealing with that particular right now because Ripple is way past. Ripple, the company, is past that, and XRP has passed this phase. The token has passed this phase. So, but if you are interested in extending this report to ICOs, then you should read the Securities and Exchange Commission guidelines and thoughts on initial coin offerings, so that you may be able to invest with less risk. So earlier I did show you, in fact, a piece of information that the Securities Exchange Commission took some action on Ripple Labs, forcing Ripple to reformulate itself into the company Ripple to fix those practices. Um, so we find that if we look at the messaging of XRP from the CEO and others of Ripple, that they are in line of what was just read on the Securities Exchange guidelines. That XRP is basically a utility, a settlement coin, and it fits inside the definition of the SEC guidelines. And with that said, however, again, the Securities and Exchange Commission has in fact taken action on other coins and companies, and will continue. So here's a press release where the Securities Exchange investigative report concluding that DAO tokens, a digital asset, were securities. And there are lots of reasons why these things could be deemed as securities. And sometimes they're not criminal in itself. They can be, in fact, corrected. But what was listed, I will read some of the listings of what happened, what the Securities Exchange Commission came back with DAO coin. It says DAO tokens qualify as an investment contract under the SEC's definition of a security. The DAO was the issuer of those securities in spite of there being an autonomous organization embodied in computer code and executed on a blockchain. The offering should have been registered as a security with the Securities and Exchange Commission or conducted under the SEC exemption policies. Any platform that allowed for trading of the DAO tokens should have registered as an exchange with the SEC. DAO's plan to invest in companies and fund projects would have classified it as an investment company and should have required registration, such as with the SEC. By implication, those who assisted in the sale of those tokens or purchased them with the inherent or the intent to resell them at a later time are underwriters under the SEC definition. Those who participated in the sale of DAO tokens on the secondary market would be considered traders and should have registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The officers, participants, and assistants who helped to manage the DAO offerings are also subject to the security laws of individual states. So that we see there's the Securities and Exchange Commission of the federal government, and that we also know that there are local, state, and city, local governments that are interested in securities. So you, from CNBC over here, former SEC weighs in on how to regulate cryptomania, and then there is some writing that the Securities and Exchange Commission is cracking down on suspicious cryptocurrencies, and that will only continue according to a former chairman of the regulatory body. So cryptocurrencies is a subject of interest for the Securities and Exchange Commission and local government, state and city. So there are guidelines that companies, in fact, should follow. Ripple is following those guidelines. As far as my research, they have not done any of the things on the left side that I mentioned that happened with DAO tokens. They are a very mature management team, and they understand these issues. They are simply the creators of XRP. They know what XRP can do, and they created a warp drive, settlement warp drive, as in Star Trek, that can use this XRP as Star Trek warp drive was using the dilithium crystals. You know, there are lots of other SEC warnings on like about illegal trading, insider trading, So unfortunately, um, even with the listing that we were expecting on Coinbase, because some information leaked out about possibly someone using the property of Coinbase to actually exchange um, XRP, that would be an interest for inside trading information that would, and so the exchange Coinbase will ultimately have to investigate the matter completely and have a finding and post that finding to the regulatory bodies before they could even possibly um, use or put XRP on their exchange. They are smart enough to know that they have to follow good practices, and they certainly have to investigate. So the time in which it is taking to put XRP on Coinbase, if Coinbase even wants to put XRP, they now, because of those matters, now have to do some procedural um, or follow some procedural guidelines or cure some internal practices before they can do that. Otherwise, they may be subject to insider trading, and that we also know that that there is an interest because of Bitcoin Cash, the way that it was released, that maybe some people might deem that there was some inside trading on that. I'm pretty sure Coinbase is on top of its procedures and policies and sees these issues. The Coin Telegraphed, Future of Money, released an article by Darren Pollock, very interesting. Ripple hate. Is Ripple a wolf in sheep's clothing? This was released very recently. It says cryptocurrency purists have always judged new coins by a few important factors. On top of that list have always been decentralization. However, one of the biggest coins in the cryptocurrency market have been hiding in plain sight with a centralized nature. But its recent boom that saw it finish last year as one of the top performing assets has seen it garner a lot of hate. Yes. The problem is, even with the investors and even the purists, is that they do not understand that exchanges now have to be centralized. There's centralization in the exchanges. Once these coins are on exchanges, there is a certain amount of centralization. They have to understand that there are regulatory bodies, federal, local, and state, international, that will monitor anything that it feels that is an asset. The purist, at the same time, they turn their head when they see illegal practices. It is interesting that some of them actually seem to want to live in the dark web, where these practices go on and people are harmed, and they seem to accept that, and they see some centralization as the enemy, and not and not the drug use, the ordering of hits, the hiding of assets, the stealing, or even what South Korea is concerned of for their country, things like the value system of the youth, that you can invest, and you can all you have to do is invest smartly, and you do not have to work hard. The ethics go out of the it becomes gambling. So for the purist
of cryptocurrencies as if they call themselves. Many of them are not the professionals that work in the cryptocurrency market. They are, in fact, just people who invested in it, and they become the purists. But they're not the technology officers. They're not the scientists. They're not the people who, in fact, created digital currencies for the good of humanity. They want to exist again in the dark web. So Ripple is not a wolf in sheep's clothing. The fact of the matter is the illegal usage of things that cannot be regulated by people's values, principles, rules. They are, in fact, the true wolves. The investors on the other side want to invest in products that are good for the humanity, that they can, in fact, make good judgments to make a profit. So XRP is not the wolf. The wolf is, in fact, the illegal side, the manipulation, which the government will crack down. Are they saying that, or the purists saying that all these ICOs that are raising these billions of dollars for projects that will never come to pass, right? Using very smart language and very smart ideas to fleece billions of dollars out of common investors looking to pay their mortgages, that is not the wolf? There are lots of things that we have to fix. So this has been my special report. I hope that it helps. And if I'm incorrect in anything, please post. But I think that this report is necessary for understanding why XRP, which is a product of Ripple, and you see this little logo. I really don't know if the logo is Ripple the company or the XRP token. But nevertheless, XRP is a product of Ripple. In my understanding and thinking, it's like the dilithium crystal of Star Trek, the warp drive of cross-border payment settlements. It is not a security, but a special asset. Again, please invest wisely. Do not invest anything in this market that you cannot afford to lose. We are in the beginning of a new technical era of cross-border payments that hopefully can do good for the world. Some of this is not about profit. Some of this is about people who are not even connected to banks, who are being super exploited, having an ability to exchange their goods and services through proper and fast and efficient settlement. This is about workers who work internationally, leave their families and go to other countries and then want to send some of their monies that they make as success back home to empower. This is about companies that need liquidity to make profit, to do good, right? Ripple XRP is a settlement token that creates liquidity in the market, so that so things are not just sitting around waiting to be settled. We live in a modern age. This is the warp drive of settlement. So again, my name is Reggie Mabry. Thanks again for listening to my special report. I try to report on things that I am interested in. Sometimes some of these questions are my own questions that I just want to extend to the marketplace, to other investors, to help them understand why, for example, even though I'm not trying to tell you to buy Ripple, XRP of Ripple, excuse me, I'm trying to tell you why I feel that the practices of XRP is a good use case to understand if you're going to invest in the market, to invest in a company that has utility, that has a product that actually has usage, real usage. And the Ripple company, the company Ripple, is making sure that the XRP token is able to show its use. So that has been my special report. Thank you again. Happy investing.